Hi Leo, welcome to your August 2024 horoscope. August is a challenging month for all of the zodiac signs. And this is because we are all going to experience a square between Jupiter and Saturn. The square will happen on August 19th, but we will still be feeling that tension building up all the way up until the 19th. So even though it's not the first transit that happens in the month of August, I do want to start out by talking about this square because it is actually such a big part of the month of August. For you, Leo, the square will happen between your 8th and 11th house, with Saturn in your 8th house and Jupiter in your 11th house. In general, you can think of the square between Jupiter and Saturn as a tension, as a battle or an arm wrestle between hope and optimism and pessimism, feeling blocked, and seriousness and hard work. So you might especially feel a stark difference between these two, feeling one stronger than the other, and feeling like there is a huge jump from one day feeling one way and the next day feeling the other way. And honestly, the way, the way this will play out for you is also going to depend on your own personal experience or your own personal life with these two planets. I do think that this square, for those that are a bit more on the Saturnian side, this square will push them more towards the Jupiter side, whereas people that are more Jupiterian, hopeful, optimistic, they will be pushed a little bit more into the serious and hard work side. So do reflect for yourself which side you stand on. But again, for you specifically, Leo, this is happening in your 8th house and in your 11th house. So there is a part of you with Jupiter in your 11th house that's very much ready and hopeful to be recognized by the rest of the world, to contribute to the rest of the community. A part of you that's thinking about long future vision, goals, all sorts of contributions and big picture ideas of where you're going. But there's also this sort of pessimism or blockage when it comes to the emotional part of you, when it comes to the part of you that feels connected to others, feels like they can form meaningful and deep relationship with others. So we see this tension between being pulled to focus on depth, being pulled to focus on deep, meaningful relationship with just one or two human beings versus this other side of you that's thinking about big picture, contributing to many people's lives, being recognized as a leader and as a visionary. And you might especially feel a pull between those two as well. You might especially find that one is more motivating, this big picture, contributing to a community, being recognized, contributing to a big social goal, standing up, protesting. That is more inspiring to you. That feels more hopeful, nicer to think about. But there is this part of you as well, personally, that is asking you to spend more time in depth, connected, intertwined with just one or two human beings closest to you. But that might feel more energy draining. That might feel like it requires hard work. That might feel like it requires patience. It might not be something you're looking forward to. And you really feel the tension between those two playing out in the month of August. So again, as I said, this square will happen on August 19th, but actually the whole week before is quite important, and you'll see these themes come up the whole week before. And here is why. On August 14th, we have Mars conjuncting Jupiter in your 11th house, and the day later, squaring Saturn. And I do see this March 14th event as sort of the spark that gets the fire going. With Mars, you might be taking some sort of courageous action. You might be doing something that you're afraid of. Again, this is your 11th house, so you might be taking a new step towards your recognition in your community. You might be signing up for a new protest or a new social cause to contribute to. You might be setting new, higher, loftier future goals for yourself. But because the next day we have that square with Saturn, it might be that the actions do not produce the desired results. It might feel like the outcome is not what you expected. The outcome is maybe not even positive. Because again, there's that square with Saturn, which puts a block to your courageous actions. Later in the week, on August 18th, we also have Venus opposing Saturn from your second house. And the way you can sort of think of this is we had the courageous action on the 14th. On the 15th, the outcome didn't seem as expected. And as a result, we now with Venus being opposed by Saturn, we might feel like there is a bit of a damper on our self-confidence. We might feel a bit down because our courageous action didn't lead us to where we wanted it to lead us. And for you specifically, Leo, because Venus will be opposing Saturn from your second house, you might especially feel like that your finances are also being affected somehow. You know, maybe your self-confidence is quite low. You feel down from your courageous actions, the fact that they didn't produce the results you wanted. And maybe you end up spending more money than you wanted to. Maybe to comfort yourself, you end up spending a lot of money. Or maybe that courageous action required you investing some money, but you end up, perhaps losing that money, or you feel like it was a bad investment, an investment that didn't give the results you wished for. And then the day after, on the 19th, we finally have that square with Jupiter and Saturn. One good thing to know about this square between Jupiter and Saturn is that it's happening during a full moon. I know, you thought it couldn't get any worse. Not only do we have the tension from Jupiter and Saturn, on that day we have the tension between the opposition of the Sun and the Moon. So during this full moon, the Sun is in Leo in your first house, and the Moon is in Aquarius in your seventh house. So you might find that the square actually brings up feelings of feeling like an outcast. It's a moon in Aquarius after all, but also feeling like an outcast within your own relationship. You might feel like you're not understood within your own relationship. You might feel like you are alone in your relationship. And again, it could be because you have lofty ambitions, but at the same time, connecting with your partner on a deep level requires a lot of work. And all of that work could be making you feel like you're not understood, or you're not accepted with the way you are. All of the zodiac signs are experiencing this feeling of not belonging and this feeling of being an outcast. And we're all experiencing it in different ways, depending on what house this full moon falls into. So I do want to let you know that even though you are feeling alone, you are not alone. All of us will be going through this square and this full moon. So if you can find it within yourself, do try to reach out. Reach out to those close to you, to those you can trust, and you will most likely find that they are probably also feeling like an outcast. They're probably also feeling misunderstood, maybe in a different area of their life. But you might find that sharing your struggles, you will also get to hear about their struggles and hopefully start to feel a little bit less alone. I have to say that there are two more difficult aspects I want to talk about in the month of August. And these have to do with the planet of Venus. And after all, I promise we get to talk about some positive things as well. So Venus does have two more challenging aspects in the month of August. At the beginning of the month, Venus ends up squaring Uranus, whereas at the end of the month, Venus opposes Neptune. For you, Leo, Venus will square Uranus, who is in your 10th house. So it might be that there are some crazy sudden changes with your career that have an effect on your finances, that have an effect on your self-confidence and self-esteem. And later in the month, when Venus opposes Neptune, you might feel like there are some ideals that you've had about what it means to be in a loving, meaningful relationship that you might need to drop away. An example I could give is maybe you always thought that, being in a loving relationship meant that you share everything with each other. And perhaps through all of these things happening in a month, through the square with Jupiter and Saturn, through, whatever, everything else happening, that you find out, wait a second, actually being in a loving and meaningful relationship is this feeling of trust, this feeling of comfort, this feeling of love, even if you don't share everything. So there might be some sort of a refashioning or a reimagining of the ideals that you have around connection in a romantic relationship. Okay, so before we close off the month, Leo, there is one positive aspect that I do want to talk about. And this is the new moon in Leo in your sign, which is happening on August 4th. So the sun and the moon will be in your first house at the beginning of the month. So this might be an especially important new moon for you, Leo. Keep in mind that Mars and Jupiter are in your 11th house in the sign of Gemini. So this new moon, while feeling positive and optimistic, and you might feel like you're getting more recognition than you're maybe used to, keep in mind that there can be a tendency to overextend yourself. With both Mars and Jupiter in your 11th house, you might be having very lofty goals, very lofty ambitions of the contribution that you want to give to society. And again, please do enjoy this. We especially need this good energy before we head into the craziness later in the month. But just a word of caution that this can lead to some overextension. So make sure you also give yourself time to just return to yourself, some time to stop thinking about goals and where you're going, and some time to just also be present in the here and now. So overall, Leo, I hope you're excited for the learning lessons that August has in store for you, for all of us. I think I shared this with one of the other zodiac signs. The universe doesn't do this, or the planets don't do this just so they can look down and laugh at us. There is definitely this idea or this motivation of teaching, learning, and being able to grow as human beings. So I hope that during this craziness, you can at least find some time to reflect on what these square between Jupiter and Saturn could be trying to teach you. Thank you so much for joining me, Leo. I hope this horoscope helps you out for the month ahead. And make sure you subscribe, because I am giving a free reading away when we reach 1,000 subscribers. So you might get a chance to win that and get a free reading. How amazing. Make sure you subscribe. Thanks for joining me so much, Leo, and I hope to see you again soon.